Hey, and welcome to the commentary for Dawn of Corruption Part 3. This is well overdue. And if you've watched my previous Dawn of Corruption Part 1 and 2 commentaries, I want to thank you for that. Dawn of Corruption Part 3 is a very different sort of story. It gets straight into the action, and it's just darker. It's just a lot darker. And here we have the mystery character. We got Terror Dive here, who's basically, he's like Lockdown, but he's more mysterious. We do see more of Terror Dive in this episode, but basically Terror Dive has this shadow student, this one in shadow, and he has his own crew of like Viacons or troops, as we see later in the episode, and we also know that Hailstorm is actually in this ship. So Hailstorm is basically Terror Dive sort of second in command almost. Like I said, Terror Dive is kind of like Lockdown, like a bounty hunter, but there is a lot of mystery. And I've always loved this opening, the Rise of a Darkspark main theme tune. Say what you will about Rise of a Darkspark, but this theme tune kicks ass. It is, it's good. And looking back at these effects, yeah, I think they were good for its time. This I think still holds up, in my opinion. Obviously, if I redid this, it would be so much better now. But I can really appreciate the effort that my past self put into this. Because I think it took about 10, 11 months to make. I can't remember. I know it was between 9 and 11 or 12 months. But essentially this is split into like 3 parts. So the first part of Season 3, the second part of Season 3 and the third part of Season 3. We have Lionheart and Elefunga here, so basically the story with them is they were drones created by Starscream in Africa, and basically Optimus kind of like purged their spark of dark energy and gave them a spark through the Matrix, and they kind of hang out in Africa and watch over the wildlife and protect Africa really. Whereas you have like Autobots as vehicles, patrolling the streets, make sure Decepticons aren't doing anything. The animal bots, Lionheart and Elefunga, are doing the exact same, but just in Africa. You know, making sure the wildlife isn't getting poisoned or tampered with or killed or anything like that. And Starscream in this story, it's like, he's not your typical Starscreamer being a traitorous snitch and everything, but if something will benefit him, then he'll take it for himself, like this Energon. And Lionheart has impenetrable shields, and Starscream just shoots him off straight away. So that kind of like shows this energy that Starscream absorbs into himself is like so strong. And the thing is, I mentioned a few times in my series here and there that Starscream has absorbed some energon in a mind that makes him stronger with each passing day. That's referenced in in End of Days a few times. And this is a scene. Starscream goes in, absorbs this new energon, and basically makes him a lot stronger. So in End of Days, Starscream is literally like on the par, if not stronger than Optimus Prime himself, who has a Matrix. Obviously, at this point, Starscream will get punched by Megatron, and he goes straight on the floor. So he can't really take a hit, so he's literally kind of like just absorbed it, gained little bit of power, but not too much. But over the for the years to come, Starscream becomes an absolute powerhouse of a tank or a jet. And the Energon is basically very rare, so it's like very scarce. It's like if you find this sort of Energon, it's unheard of, really. I really do like Lockdown in this series because we kind of see in Expanded Universes he's more of an independent bounty hunter, and then over the course of his story, Lockdown kind of joins up with the Decepticons and becomes this troop almost to Megatron, like a trooper. And it's almost like a loss of sense of identity. Like he becomes so independent, and he goes to being someone who kind of like relies on others. And that's something I'm definitely going to explore more in my series. How Lockdown goes from an independent character to almost just a soldier. And you really see the difference between kind of like Lockdown here and Terradive, who has a crew of his own, but he's a lot more independent than Lockdown at the moment. And yeah, we're back to Autobot HQ.
And Lionheart have returned.
What did you discover?
Megatron has found a new energon source, all right, but he doesn't have it.
Ah, so you have it then.
Not exactly.
I really do like this sort of music that goes with it. It's very ambient,
Hey, take it easy.
very relaxing and peaceful.
What happened slowly.
But at the same time, it's quite sad.
The Decepticons and now has the energon. His lust for power has made
I really like how I throw you into this story. So with Dawn of Corruption Part 1 and 2, I do kind of like throw you in the story, but I kind of, you know, give it a little bit of breathing space at the start. But this one, it's like straight in.
We need to formulate a plan first.
And how I mentioned in previous parts about how Optimus is, he's not too old, he's not young, like he's not like Bumblebee or Sideswipe, but he's not as old as he is in like Prime or the Bayverse. He's sort of like in the middle. This really shows his inexperience, so Optimus is kind of thinking like, I'm going to go and find Starscream, you all stay here, we can formulate, you know, a plan later, but I'm going to go out and have a look for Starscream right now and we'll sort everything else out later. And he just goes on his own, which is a bad decision, because we'll see right now, Terradive gets him.
Terradive, my scans read Optimus is near and alone. Waste no time.
I do like Hailstorm's voice. I improved upon it very slightly in 1518 Days Without an Accident, and I loved how I made Hailstorm's voice boom, like when he shouts.
Optimus is our target. When he is within range,
And that's Storm Media there, voicing Terradive.
Free will stun him. Then Hailstorm will raise the stasis net. Remember, we're taking him prisoner for
It's so weird when you like look back on your work and think like at the time this was your best piece, and now you've just come so far and made an even better piece. Like End of Days Part 1, that's my best piece of work.
Oh no.
And in a few years I'll be like, I'll have another best piece of work, and I'll look back and probably see a few flaws in End of Days, but ultimately, whatever you did at the time, if that was your best piece of work, that's good enough. That's good enough. As long as you tried your best with what you had, that's the best thing. You know, the story comes across, the sets come across, the audience gets the idea what you're going for.
Autobots get suspicious when we rendezvous, sending in your troops for a distraction.
And of course, we have a signal strength there again. Some good old signal strength.
Meet me at the coordinates I provided tomorrow.
But Nemesis just kind of hangs out in space here and there, to be fair. Megatron's just in a room on his own, just staring at a wall. How funny.
His death will come soon. Then we'll destroy the rest of the Autobots, and then no one will stand against me.
And this is where we really see the progression of the Sky Ruler prophecy,
As ruler of the universe.
which will be touched upon a little bit more in the future. Not necessarily in the future, but like in expanded universes that take place in the past, like between Dawn of Corruption or before Dawn of Corruption. I will be referencing it here and there, so keep your ears peeled for that. And here we've got the Fallen, who's back after Optimus basically chopped his arm off and beat him up.
Stronger than ever before. Optimus cannot stop me this time around.
And you kind of see Shockwave like just like yes, just like yes, kind of like just so you can tell Shockwave's just so devious. And as I said, this is actually like the second story idea I had for Dawn of Corruption Part 3.
The whole city of Washington
originally I had a story that was vastly different. The whole thing, like this right now, was completely different. So I do want to make a video on the original story, Dawn Corruption Part 3, so if you guys want to see that, let me know and I'll get to work on it soon. I need to dig out the original script because I don't know if I still have it, but I do remember bits of it and it was completely different. And Ironhide's really the second in command here. Like, even though you got Ultra Magnus, Ironhide's been on Earth for longer. Although he's probably not as high up ranking as Ultra Magnus, you don't need to know, it doesn't really matter because everyone knows morally Ultra Magnus and Ironhide, they both earn the respect, and Ultra Magnus, although he's a higher rank, he respects Ironhide, and I think sometimes that is better. It's like in the Clone Wars when Ahsoka says to Rex, I'm a Jedi, technically I outrank you, and Rex says experience outranks everything. And it's kind of like that, like even though Ultra Magnus is higher than Ironhide, he still respects him dearly. And everyone's going out searching for Optimus Prime. He's MIA. And they're just trying to like distract them basically. Just kind of like pretending that the Decepticons have got Optimus, so when in fact it's that Pterodive ship. Just kind of like distract him from finding Pterodive. So it's like, oh yeah, we have Optimus, you're going to have to go through us, when in fact they don't actually have Optimus yet. But when they get Optimus from Pterodive, that's a different story. I really do like this fight. Of course it's very slow, but you get what I was going for, and obviously if I redid it, it would be a lot quicker. Like the fight movements would be so much smoother. But again, you get what I'm going for with this. And here's where we introduce a lot of new characters. So we've got Hot Rod, we got Breakaway, we have Top Spin, we got Roadbuster, we've got Whirl, we have RC later on, we got Cliff Jumper, we have Wheeljack. I think that's all of the characters. We've got a lot just from having like Optimus, Jazz, Ironhide, Ratchet, Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Brawn, Flak Rollborn, Ultra Magnus, and obviously Lionheart and Elefunga. Now their ranks have doubled. Of course, Bumblebee doesn't have a voice, so he's just bleeping. And Megatron's walking through the city with Barricade, Thundercracker, and Brawl.
Listen, I have to stop. Remember that I'm a master of Metallicado? With Optimus MIA, I might be our only hope.
Here's where we really see some development in Barricade from End of Days, because Barricade in End of Days is very loyal to Megatron, but in this, he makes a little comment when Whirl kind of like kicks Megatron's ass, and he's kind of like, oh, what's up Megatron, can't you take him? Almost like a little snide little comment. And obviously at the end of this, when Megatron, spoiler alert if you've not seen the episode, but when something happens to Megatron at the end of this episode, Barricade kind of realises when Starscream takes leadership over Decepticons, he's like, Megatron actually was really good, and Starscream's just not a good leader. So that's what it's like, that saying, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. And yeah.
What's up, Megatron? Can't you take him?
Megatron, get up, please.
Of course, Brawl is very loyal. And that was Cybertronian language. I made it up. And look at them punches from Megatron, just funny as anything.
Finally, you got some on me.
Now, Shockwave.
As if I'm gonna fall for that.
Yeah, he's stabbed by a Shockwave.
Decepticons, proceed through the city.
Of course, Megatron knew saying like, no, Shockwave wouldn't work, and that's why he was trying to bluff Whirl, when in reality Shockwave were actually behind him. But Megatron wins in either situation. Whether he turns around, Megatron can then rush at Whirl when he's got his back to him and stab him, or if he doesn't turn around, he gets stabbed in the back by Shockwave. Of course, we got Bone Crusher again, who was dead and now he's back alive. Bone Crusher just seems to be a character that seems not killable, and you'll see why later. So he died in Dawn of Corruption Part 2. He's back now, and he basically dies again in a bit, and then he kind of comes back as a zombie. So he's kind of like unkillable, really. And yeah, just taking a little breather moment here while the wreckers kind of get repaired.
Finish you off. Why, I don't know. Just doesn't seem right. It's safe to say they have a.
And we'll see Breakaway start to listen to his prime instinct in his future, where he's kind of like taking the lead almost.
I think that's why they didn't finish us. Maybe. Guys, I've detected that Bumblebee's team are under heavy attack.
Hot Rod, let him know we're on our way. Tell him to hold the enemy off as long as he can.
But yeah. Here we are with Bone Crusher's fight. I'm really happy with how this turned out, actually. It's like, Bone Crusher is actually very strong. People don't realise how tough Bone Crusher is. And he literally just catches Wheeljack's sword. Like, he don't even chop his fingers off, he just catches his sword. That's Lennox there. And then Wheeljack's having another go. Very slow punch. And then his arm starts to break. After everyone's just shooting him. And we'll see in a moment what Bumblebee does. On a building, while Wheeljack distracts Bone Crusher, jumps on his back, and boom. That was actually in the original Season 3. Bumblebee does the same sort of thing. He jumps on his back from a building. Apart from, instead of shooting him, he uses his blaster from the 07 film. It turns into a sword. He stabs him in the head. Both good. Either shoot him in the head or stab him in the head. And I really like this bit. It's like all the Decepticons spread out through the city, and they're all just hunting all the Autobot groups around the city one by one. You got the Wreckers, you got Bumblebee's team. And boom. There we go. And Wheeljack really did that to himself as well, because, he's running at Shockwave with speed, so he's gonna have more of an impact running at Shockwave and getting hit than just getting hit, because he's adding the element of speed. That's a reference to the Dark of the Moon video game, how Shockwave's weak spot is his back, and Bumblebee exposes that and then just gets beat up. Obviously Wheeljack's on the floor there, just knocked unconscious as Shockwave goes to grab Wheeljack's sword. And I'm really happy how this turned out, and you'll see Bumblebee's shoulder armour actually comes off there when he gets thrown against the wall.
Bumblebee, we can't find Optimus.
And with this, it's like Transformers can either have their comm links directly into their ears, kind of like earpieces, or they can have them speaking out loud like a speaker, and Bumblebee obviously has his out loud. So Shockwave overhears the Autobots' plan, sadly. So way to go, Bumblebee! You've told everyone the plan.
Let them waste their time. Once we have Optimus, then that's a different matter. I'm going to be Pterodite now.
Yes, Megatron.
It's been ages since I watched it. It's good to watch back. Oh, we have Silverbolt as well. I forgot about him. And Jolt. I'm sorry, Silverbolt and Jolt. I feel bad now because what happened to Silverbolt as well, and I've just forgotten about him. I'm a bad person.
Then we storm his ship instead. I may be injured, but I'm not dead. That ship will soon be out of our range.
Yeah, Will is the only one who can fly. Well, you got Silverbolt as well. But this is World's moment to shine. This is his bit of character development. We kind of just forget about Silverbolt. He's in the background. This is World's moment. That background as well with all the hills. My mum painted that for me when I was really young. So I've still got it. It's really nice. This is inside Pterodive's ship. Or not, he just stumbles upon the prison straight away.
Flipping that switch, it will set me free. Hurry,
down here. Autobots.
And even though there's this big size difference between Pterodive and Megatron, like, Pterodive is equally capable of taking Megatron on. I mean, we see what he does with Optimus here. Very much like Lockdown versus Optimus. Even though he's smaller, he's more than capable. And Lockdown actually is able to take Optimus on mainly because of his external spinal cord, giving him a lot of flexibility. And I can actually do a video on that if you'd like, so let me know in the comments below whether you want a video on that, about Lockdown having an external spinal cord. This was a really fun fight to film. I love filming outside. Every time it's just so satisfying to have it outside, like a real background. And it's just nice just to kind of like roll around in the dirt and just throw your figures against the dirt and the grass. It's just so good. I think I was actually one of the first people to make Pterodive's thruster, you know, turn its hand to the thrusters into guns. I think I was the one person who thought of that first, because every time I looked at Pterodive, no one ever did it, and as soon as I did this, loads of people started to do it, and I still see it now. So I like to think I kind of like help bring that to fruition a little bit. Maybe I didn't, but you know, maybe I did at the same time. And of course, Optimus kind of like gets really injured here because he's already beaten up from Pterodive, so he's already injured.
So no one in the universe will be able to stop me.
Yeah, no one
Of course, Breakaway's been like looking at Megatron flying around the city with Optimus and just trying to find him and stop Megatron himself.
I will not be defeated by a mere soldier.
I'm not a soldier. I'm an Autobot.
And the Matrix just kind of like hit out of his chest. There was actually another line meant to be added in here where basically instead of Megatron just looking at Breakaway opening the Matrix and, you know, whatever, Breakaway sees the Matrix on Optimus's chest, and Megatron also sees the Matrix on Optimus's chest, and he's like, the Matrix peeking out of Prime's chest. And yeah, he was literally just gonna like look at the Matrix and be like, the Matrix is peeking out of Prime's chest, and then that's when Breakaway picks it up and opens the Matrix. But when I was making it, I was just like, that doesn't sound right. That does not sound right. And this is the Sky Manipulated Cannon, which basically is to help fulfill the Sky Prophecy, where you can like shoot something into the air. Or you can use it as a weapon as well, but you can shoot it into the air and like create storms. It changes the weather patterns, and when the Sky Ruler takes the skies, he can control the elements anyway, but this just helps him that bit more. So in the episode where Megatron adds Dark Energon, Synthetic Energon, and loads of other Energon elements into him to become the Sky Ruler, he can tap into the elements in the sky a lot easier with this Sky Manipulated Cannon, because it's like manipulating the natural elements to Megatron's sort of vibration, if that makes sense, and Megatron can really control the elements a lot better. This is the second act where it begins, so where that ended with Bumblebee getting shot, and then it fades into the base. This is the second act of like middle of season 3. This actually, I wasn't actually going to make this episode, Expanded Universe, sorry, but there's a story between that where Bumblebee gets shot and this bit where RC is fighting Knockout. With the Expanded Universe coming with that takes place between these two scenes, and it's called Partners, so keep an eye out for that. So it goes Dawn Corruption Part 3 first act, Partners, and then Dawn Corruption Part 3 Act 2.
You're a traitor, I'm a traitor. If we make an army together, Megatron doesn't have a chance when we've taken command. Interested?
This is really where Starscream and Knockout's leadership kind of starts. You know, we see it in End of Days where Starscream's got the Predacons made by Knockout, and Knockout's at his side.
Again? Ratchet,
The Autobots don't catch a break in this. It's always Decepticon attack after Decepticon attack. Attack the city, then they get the base. And we see Break Prime here. When I want to call him Breakaway, I call him Break Prime. When I want to call him Break Prime, I call him Breakaway.
Yes, Autobot. Oh no.
And this is Break Prime just in his early days of being a Prime, so he's not very experienced. He's still a rookie. He's not got the complete wisdom of the Matrix, because that's with Optimus. He's only got like a partial bit that's needed. And even like Thundercracker, like maybe before Breakaway could have taken on like, you know, Barricade, Bone Crusher, those sort of Decepticons. But I want to kind of show that even though Breakaway is now a Prime, he's probably more on the level of like Starscream, Thundercracker at this point. Starscream's in like the present self in this episode, not his future self when he's a lot stronger. But obviously as Break Prime progresses his story and he becomes stronger, obviously he would probably be on par with other Decepticons, maybe like Blackout and Brawl, and then it'd be a little bit below Starscream's power level, just so you get an idea of how strong Break Prime is.
You're Sam, right?
So he probably couldn't take on Megatron or Starscream in his prime, but more like high-ranking Decepticons. And we have Robert Chambers here as Sam Witwicky making his debut. This was a fun scene to do. Yeah, I really do like this interaction between Breakaway and Sam. Break Prime and Sam. It's very fun.
An Autobot survived.
Barricade, you're not gonna harm this boy.
I remember on this episode there was a comment that someone made about basically after Break Prime kicks and hits Barricade, he does like a squat and someone with like ultimate squat poop or something like that. They made some comment about a Breakaway squatting here like that. And it always makes me laugh every time I see it. I'm always like, squat poop or whatever the comment was. I'm gonna have to go back and read that comment. It's just a comment that stuck with me all my life, and it's just hilarious. Thank you to whoever said that. It's funny as hell. There's a comment as well from Jay Watchcraft in End of Days where it's a serious scene where Predaking and Magnus are fighting in Byzantium, and there's just one shot where Ultra Magnus is just doing this weird pose on the floor as Predaking goes to hit him and jump on him and punch him a bit more, and it's just hilarious. Like, I didn't realise, but Ultra Magnus is like in this weird little pose. And every time I see that now, I just can't get Jay Watchcraft's comment out of my head. And it's just hilarious. And it's funny because Jay Watchcraft actually voices Break Prime and Breakaway. Not in this Dawn of Corruption Part 3, but in all my X-Men universes and from this point on after Dawn of Corruption Part 3.
This place is big. Time to find the others. It's not like a giant billboard is gonna pop up and read prison chambers this way.
Connections everywhere. There's prison chambers, and Sam Witwicky, who's helping Break Prime in this mission, was voiced by Robert Chambers. So, signs everywhere. It's like the Matrix with all connections.
Don't worry, Doc.
I just love how the Decepticons have put all the Autobots in this, like, one room with each other, and there's no guards.
Sam, teleporter's back.
Again, if I ever redid this, which I'm probably not going to do, so I'm not going to promise anything, but I would do this a lot different. Like, I'd make it a lot more realistic. Like, Breakaway wouldn't just walk into an unguarded room with all the prisoners. He'd have to fight his way through like hell. Like, I would really change it, but again, I did the best that I could. This is how I felt I should have told the story when I made it.
Allow me to take you home.
This scene originally, Break Prime, I don't remember why I didn't ask the actor to re-record this line, but when Sam says you did good, Break Prime says we did good, but there was meant to be more emphasis on we. It's like, you did good, and it's like, no, we did good. We did good, not just me, we.
You're here.
But
What's going
yeah.
on?
This is the beginning of Act 3 now. So that's the end of Act 2. This is like the final part of Season 3.
No.
And basically the Allspark has, when the Allspark was launched away from Cybertron, it's somehow come back into the gravitational pull of Cybertron.
The Allspark. They'll do everything they can to get their hands on it. So here's what we're gonna
So
do.
yeah.
We'll send Lionheart in for it. Yes,
And they're sending Lionheart in for the Allspark because he's quick, strong, and they don't really want to send a bunch of characters there.
Lionheart's fast, courageous, and with others, they'll just slow him down.
Don't worry.
He's really scouting ahead and making sure everything's good. I really like this scene with Soundwave. He's just kind of like in satellite mode, but with all these wires in him. Just kind of like processing all the data and things like that. And of course, the Decepticons detect this as well.
You called me?
Allspark detected unstable.
A lot of characters rush in this episode. It's like the Allspark's detected and Shockwave's kind of thinking, "I'm going there now. Yeah, I can't wait for backup. This is serious." I tried to avoid doing the same thing what Transformers Prime did, where they just sent all the Autobots on Cybertron and all the Decepticons on Cybertron to get the Omega Lock. Whereas this, I wanted to get like a really different take, where one-on-one, and it's more of like a race. And you'll see like the brightness and contrast in this is so dark, and it was meant to be like that because Cybertron's dead, and I really wanted this to be like a dark scene, not all lights and bright and nice and colourful, but it's dark and grim. Really happy with these shots. Storm Media helped with these as well. These where it's like loads of shots together, where it's like driving like here, or this bit here where he's walking around.
Shooting me in the leg won't stop me.
And then there's a couple of other shots which I had to do frame by frame, one by one, like this falling here. So I had a background and I just had to keep changing the image one little movement at a time.
Optimus?
I read you, Lionheart. Go ahead.
I got it.
And they just find the Allspark. The Allspark kind of found its way into this room on its own. Where is this room? We don't know. But the Allspark was drawn to this place. And Lionheart wins a race. And then Shockwave obviously also jumps down that massive
Reopen the space bridge for
jump.
the Autobots won the race.
And yeah, we go back to Earth. And here's a big twist in the story. So the Allspark, they finally have it, and it's like, it's a big source of power, but there's something else with it.
I don't think the Allspark was
And basically, the Allspark is actually a container. So it's still the same Allspark like in the Michael Bay series, where it's a massive source of power, and it gave like loads of Transformers and Cybertron life. But to give Cybertron life, it formed its energy into the Omega Lock and the Omega Keys. So inside the Allspark, with it being a container, it actually has all 4 Omega Keys. So it's like, rather than using the Allspark, the actual Allspark to restore Cybertron, you open the Allspark, take the Omega Keys out of the Allspark, which is powered by the power of the Allspark, and you put the Omega Keys into the Omega Lock. So essentially, you're taking portions of the Allspark out of the Allspark and putting it into the Omega Lock, if that makes sense. And then obviously the Allspark closes back up into the container, and it's just the cube, you know, the energy.
You mean?
I do like this because, as far as I know, no one else has done this idea with the Omega Keys being inside the Allspark. So I'm quite glad. There's a lot of unique ideas with this episode, and I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
Could end the war and live peacefully on our home planet again. It must be done.
And
Now.
originally, I wasn't sure whether Optimus should contact Megatron, like, hey, we're going to Cybertron to restore it, after all this time fighting. But Optimus does it, really, to try and draw a line of peace, because if they just restore Cybertron, after all this time of fighting, they both want the same thing, and Optimus thinks this could be the one chance at peace. Just one chance at peace, let's risk it, let's try a chance of peace to restore Cybertron. And it backfires, but obviously the Autobots just revive Cybertron on their own. The Decepticons might say to the population, oh, this was a chance at peace and the Autobots never gave it us, you know, to kind of like show the Autobots are bad. Whereas if Decepticons went to a Cybertron to restore it, they'd do it on their own, and they wouldn't care what the Autobots say about them. And it kind of shows the difference between the Autobots and Decepticons, how the Autobots are kind of like trying to keep this squeaky clean reputation, like we're trying to make peace, and Decepticons just don't care. And where the introduction of the Predacons here, actually, there is one Predacon missed out. So Knockout goes through all the characters apart from Skystalker, so he introduces everyone apart from Skystalker. I think, if I remember, it was just an error in the script that I missed him out. And of course, when I sent the lines to the actor, they said it, and then when I made it, it was a bit too late, but, you know, he's still there. He's still there. And this is why Predaking is so loyal to Starscream, because he doesn't know anything else. And Predaking, like Sanchez Prime said, he's a bit naive. You know, Predaking is created by Knockout, which is why he's so loyal to Knockout. He gave him the life, and he's loyal to Starscream, because the Decepticons all say Starscream's a coward. But Predaking never sees that. Predaking's always like... he sees Starscream from his perspective as Starscream moves into the leadership of the Decepticons and tries to make the best decisions that he can for the cause. Predaking sees this good side of Starscream, and he doesn't see the bad side. So that's why Predaking's always so loyal to Starscream. Here we are on like the Sea of Rust. This is going to be another reference to partners.
RC, I know what happened before you came to Earth.
Yeah, I would.
This is before Act 2 and after Act 1 of this film. Just a little reference back.
Yeah.
And this is the Omega Lock. I think I made it out of an air freshener. An air freshener like little pod. You know what, you have like with gel in, and I spray painted it and put cardboard little things in it and cut some holes in it where the Omega Locks fit. And basically where RCA and Cliffjumper patrol the perimeter, that's when Decepticons captured them. Originally, Optimus in this whole scenario was going to be different. So they were going to basically get this Optimus... get all the Autobots, you know, in this situation where they're captured, and Megatron was going to say, like, the keys to your friends, and originally Optimus was going to run up to Megatron, try to take him down, and we're going to get shot down, but this standoff was more, well, it was less to animate, but it was a lot better choice, rather than Optimus using emotions at this critical time and running and getting shot down, and then Ratchet being like, oh no, I'm going to get shot now. Instead, it's a standoff like, give me the keys for your friends, and they're all just staring at each other with their guns. And of course, that's when they shoot. And the Autobots go down, easily. We've got Frenzy there, each inserting an Omega key. And again, I owe thanks to Store Media for his help with some of these. It's like, in this scene and other scenes, he removed the green screen, and on other times I removed the green screen, so it was more like, I think about 50-50. A lot of the single shots or several shots I did, and a lot of the biggest shots where they're like running or driving, Store Media did. So if he's watching this right now, I want to thank you for that.
Cybertron to Earth and utilize the human population as slave labor to harvest their resources.
Megatron, please. It's too late, Optimus. Nothing you can say will stop me. Ever.
This is leading to the final part of Act 3, where Cybertron isn't actually being able to get restored because there's not enough power. So basically what they have to do is transport Cybertron to Earth. Not like Dark of the Moon, but instead of just using the humans as slave labor, what they're going to do is, because Cybertron's much bigger than Earth, what they're going to do is, because the core of Cybertron is dead, they're going to use Earth as the new core of Cybertron and drain the energy from Earth as the core. So yeah.
Master, we wish to return to
And Starscream, Knockout and all the Predacons apparently have invisibility here.
these mighty creatures, the Predacons.
And that really shows the scale of the Predacons, like they're huge. And Bumblebee's voice was fixed when after he got shot. You know, Ratchet was healing him and managed to fix his voice.
Megatron is going to transport Cybertron here. But if we stop the prophecy that the Covenant of Primus foretold, Cybertron...
I definitely think hearing that Optimus years ago, I don't think it was the worst. Not as bad as how I started out in Dawn of Corruption Part 1, the original, not the redub, the original. But I definitely feel my Optimus Prime has come a lot further than how I was back in the day. I've got a sore throat right now as well, so I can't really do my best Optimus impression right now, but yeah. I feel bad for not giving Silverbolt more screen time in this. I mean, he has screen time in 1518 Days Without an Accident, but to those of you who's watched that, I'm very sorry, Silverbolt. I'm very sorry. And now Starscream blackmailed his way back into the Decepticons. The only reason why he left was to kind of like plan his, you know, plan the downfall of Megatron, where there was no prying eyes, where Soundwave, Shockwave, and other Decepticons weren't spying on him. And other Decepticons, although I didn't have it planned at the time, in canon, there are other Decepticons in this ship, like Berserker. So Berserker's like a hive mind for the Vehicons. So Berserker's actually in this ship. We have all the other, like Brawl, Barricade, Blackout in this ship, although we don't really see them much. We don't see Blackout, but we see Brawl and Barricade. Obviously we've got Starcade there. So all the Decepticons that were basically in End of Days, you know, the crew, apart from 1 or 2, are all in the Nemesis right now. It's just we don't really see them.
Megatron, good luck.
I told you before,
And this is a reference to Dawn of Corruption Part 2, where Shockwave sends a fallen and Megatron Starscream's mind in stasis into the psychic patch. And Shockwave says, "Good luck," and Megatron's like, "I don't believe in luck," as he fades away. And obviously on this, he says the same thing. And Megatron's unconscious, but he's screaming. That's how much pain he's in. Getting upgraded.
How do you feel, mighty Megatron?
And this is where all the Dark Energon, Synthetic, and all the other energy sources are infused into Megatron, so he's a lot stronger now. He's fulfilling the Sky Prophecy, and you'll notice all the frames are a lot darker as well. This is because it's getting to a dark scene and it's stormy and everything.
because I don't need you anymore.
And one single shot just knocks a Fallen down. Really inspired by the Revenge of the Fallen game with this, how Megatron turned against the Fallen.
At last, I am the Sky Ruler.
That was actually the promotional image right there for Dawn of Corruption Part 3 with Megatron in the sky. Really show the scale of the Nemesis there.
You're the Sky Ruler.
I do enjoy this, and it's got a killer song in the background here. Got it from Kick-Ass 1, the first Kick-Ass film. Really always like this song.
If this goes well,
It's a nice, dark, serious action tone to it.
teach me to master Dark Energon. Once we're done with
And
you,
yeah, good flashback.
command his strength. I don't need you anymore.
This is what it's all been building up to, the trilogy, just the Sky Ruler. And again, I'm going to be touching more upon this.
Legend. I am more than a mere prime.
And as Megatron says, he's a stuff of legend, is more than a prime, so we can easily kill the Fallen. And what Megatron does here is like he stabs him, but he's dragging the blade up his body. You know, where people stab someone and they like drag the knife up the body, that's what he's doing, but with an entire sword. instantly killing the Fallen.
You think you can defeat us, Autobots?
Ripclaw is probably the most unique of the Predacons. You know, we've got Predaking. Wind Razor's very aggressive, fast. Twin Strike's a little bit dumb, but he's strong. Whereas Ripclaw, she is like deadly and fast, and as fast as a bullet, as Knockout says. And she knows how to fight. She's like RC, but on some high energon that makes her ultra strong. That really shows the power of Predaking, you know. Ironhide, Ratchet, Bumblebee, Jolt, they're all running towards Predaking and they just get thrown away. And these are all the dead bodies that Megatron's been saving from like battles and everything. And reviving them. And you'll see what I mean by Bone Crusher being unkillable. All these Terracons, an army of the dead, as Megatron said at the end of Dawn of Corruption Part 1, and at the start of Dawn of Corruption Part 2 actually. All the dead Viacons, all the dead Cybertronians. We've got Ransack there. We've got a Protoform Optimus Prime, but that's not Protoform Optimus Prime in story, it's just a drone really, a Protoform. And although Predaking is like ultra powerful, like he's inexperienced, so if all these Terracons just surround him, he could easily get killed. Because the difference between like zombies and soldiers attacking you, although soldiers know how to kill, like zombies are more wild, they're like wild animals, they'll do anything to get onto you. Whereas soldiers are more tactical.
The only way to destroy them is to destroy the one who's bringing them back to life.
But they're unkillable. Again, Bone Crusher comes back to life as a zombie and they can't kill him. They can't kill dead Bone Crusher. Oh, bless Bone Crusher, he just can't seem to catch a break. Or is it bless the Autobots because they can't seem to catch a break killing him. But yeah, the only way to kill them is to kill Megatron, because even if they do somehow kill a Terracon, Megatron will just bring him back to life and they got Dark Energon. And the only way to like incapacitate them is doing what Jolt does with the zapping them. And here you'll see Optimus has like a very basic jetpack. And this is the reason, because when Optimus says to Ironhide, I'm equipping an upgrade, Ratchet, like, you know, there's a bit of a jetpack template Ratchet's got in his lab. But Optimus just kind of like, okay, Ratchet, where's the jetpack? I need the jetpack. And he kind of like straps his jetpack on himself. And it's very basic because it was just thrown together very quick, so he can fly now. And this is an Energon Pulsar Cannon. So Energon Pulsar Rifle, it's not really... I mean, I made it up, but it's not like an attacking weapon, it's more like a diffusing weapon. So say if you had like a load of... say like in a laboratory, like a chemical spillage or like something about to combust. You could use an Energon Rifle, shoot it, and all the combusting material that would basically stop it and reduce it and return it to its natural state. And this is what happens. So Megatron's got all this energy inside him, Optimus shoots him, and it just disperses the energy, returns it all back to normal. But obviously Megatron's physical body can't handle that, and it just... yeah, it blows him into a million pieces. Apart from his head, which we'll see in a minute. There we go. Because we know we have to have the head intact. Nice shot of Optimus flying there, and Starscream washes the whole thing. Of course, we've got to get Knockout in here as well. Been like, hail Knockout as well. Don't forget about me. You promised me a position of leadership. We've got Silverbolt there again. Good old Silverbolt. Oh, I love Silverbolt. You wouldn't believe it after what happened, but I do love Silverbolt. Oh, poor Silverbolt. Of course, this is Optimus's ending speech.
I'm grateful to you all, but we must press on.
continue to protect this world, this galaxy, this universe. And this is the ending. This is what got so many people questioning my series after this. Like, Megatron's dead, and then, boom, he's in a new body. And basically what happened, I'm not going to spoil it completely, but from what has been explained in my series already, I can explain. Obviously, I'm not going to explain stuff that hasn't been announced in my series yet by characters, but in short, Megatron's body exploded, and somehow he was teleported here, and he looks up, and this is the cliffhanger I left everyone on for years while I was planning my universe and making it, so I apologise for that, but I hope it paid off. But the story is Megatron was transported here, and where is that? That is actually Cybertron's moon base, and it's basically where Megatron sees Scavenger, who was Shockwave's lab partner, and basically the reason why Megatron's in this like Dark of the Moon body, even if I remade Dawn of Corruption Part 3, I would still use the Dark of the Moon Megatron figure as this body for Megatron, because basically Megatron goes from this massive, powerful Revenge of the Fallen Voyager class body to the Dark of the Moon body, which is very skinny. And basically when Megatron dies, his new body is very like, because he's lost all the power, he's skinny. And his physical body that he had, you know, the Revenge of the Fallen one, that was so strong, but it's destroyed. So he's kind of like been reduced to like component parts, like a skeleton, like a shell of who he used to be. And he even said like, I'm in a body now, I'm weak again. And he really has to gain all his strength back. So when we see an End of Days at the end, where Megatron is in his last night Voyager class body, he's like scavenged parts, he's repaired himself, he is strong now. Stronger than he was in Dawn of Corruption Part 3, let me tell you that. That's how strong he is. It's almost like the Rocky films, how Rocky's like so strong in Rocky 3 and Rocky 2 and everything, and then in Rocky 4 he gets even more ripped. It's like that. It's like Megatron's so strong in this, and then he goes from, you know, he goes in a weak phase, and then he just gets buff. I do like this similarity, and I never really noticed it. This ends, Dawn of Corruption Part 3 ends with Megatron on Cybertron's moon base, wondering where he is. End of Days Part 1 ends with Megatron on Cybertron's moon base, apart from now he's all strong. And he leaves Cybertron's moon base back into the Nemesis. And he's like, I have returned. And it is weird how both endings, like, the first ending is he's wondering where he is, looking around, and the second ending he's leaving that place. And it's a nice little reference, that I do like that. But yeah, it's very special, this episode. It's got a special place in my heart. Yeah, just this message at the end, just countless hours put into it, almost a year, and there's certain highlights on my channel, highlights that stand out: Dawn of Corruption Part 3, 1518 Days, Twins, End of Days, and yeah, this is definitely one of the highlights of my channel, and I'm very appreciative for this experience, as always. Really, really am grateful. So, again, if you guys want, if you have any questions about this episode, please don't hesitate to ask. Comment below, subscribe, like, follow me on Instagram at TFN5000, and I can't get my words out, and join the Discord. The link will be in the description below. But again, if you guys want a video on the alternate story to this, because again, it was very different, like very, very different. It was darker than this, like it was grim. If you guys want to see a video on that, me just explaining, I don't know what it'll be. I don't know whether if I find the script, I might actually do like a read through of it, or I might just sit down and talk about the video and compare it to Dawn of Corruption Part 3, what was meant to be versus what came out, which ultimately what came out was better. But yeah, if you guys want to see that, comment below. And yeah, check out the previous commentaries. I'll leave the playlist link in the top right hand corner of this video right now, so go check those out. If you want to check out the Cinematic Universe playlist for my stop motions, check in the right hand corner here. This will be the playlist to the Cinematic Universe. Or if you guys want a watch through of just the events in the War for Cybertron saga so far, you know, I've got a lot of War for Cybertron stories that's going to come out, but so far, if you guys want to sit through and watch War for Cybertron saga, click in the right hand corner now and you'll see that. So, other than that, I want to thank everyone for joining. Thank you for your patience. Thank you. And if you have any questions about this story, don't hesitate to ask. Other than that, take care. Until next time, transform and roll out.